to record it. Oh, Rosemary's here.
Hi,
Oh, yay.
Rosemary.
So let's introduce Rosemary. Um, Emily, you know Rosemary, but Rosemary is a psychiatric nurse, and she's part of our whole team in many respects. So glad you're joining us, Rosemary. And you're silent, but you'll chime in. The agenda today is Calvin's going to kick it off of why do we even have this article? How does he know Anna Newsom? And so, it'll tell you a lot in a brief. Then number two is I'm just going to ask each of you to comment and have us listen. Not a dialogue, but each person comment. Then we have an open dialogue. And then I want to end with what's next? How are we going to apply this? Because in many respects, some of us are already applying it. And then I'm going to close with, are you all, each of you in sync with, will you speak into our documentary? So that's the agenda. Let's assume you at least brief the article. I'm so excited about it. So Calvin, why don't you brief us on why did you even get this article and how are you connected to Anna
Yeah.
Newsom? Is
Um,
that a good
Anna
place to
Newsom,
start?
yeah, Anna Newsom is a psychiatrist in Connecticut, affiliated indirectly with Yale University, and she practices also in New York. And she's been doing work on spirituality for several years, and she's gotten quite a visibility around the country, um, videos, websites, whatever. Um, and she and I are actually giving a panel up at Harvard in May on spirituality at the World Psychiatric Association and the American Psychiatric Association Global Summit. Um, and and her and one of the other persons that are on that panel are featured in this article. Chris Pittenger, who is the researcher, neuroscientist at Yale University. Um, this article just came across my desk from Anna, and I passed it on to Janet because they've been working toward and doing things that we've sort of envisioned could be done in New Jersey. And that's basically it. Um, I'll
Yeah,
leave it. Yes, I'll leave it
that's a
to
great intro. And
comment
I
and
know you
yeah.
have more to say. I know you have more to say. Yeah. So, Dr. Ashley, I'm going to have you start because you were the first person to respond to me and say there's so much to say. So, if you would at least brief us, and then everybody else gets to brief, and then we have a conversation. So, you're a great kickoff here, Dr.
Okay.
Ashley.
I'm not going to put words in Emily's mouth,
Uh,
but as a clergy person and also an academic, it always rubs us kind of some kind of way when all of a sudden spirituality counts because the MDs say it counts.
yeah.
And we will ask, how long you been doing this? We have cases on top of case. We do this every day. This is our life. And now because the MDs say it, you get to publish, you get to go on tour. It's like, really? Now, now you're the expert, something that we went to school for, do every day, lived. And so, yes, we'll play nice in the sandbox because we were trained how to do it, but it really really have this like really, so now it counts. So that's my immediate, and I'm not putting words in Emily's mouth, but usually as clergy, that's our starting point. And
Okay.
and
So
and let
just
me finish.
keep
And
going.
and
Yeah.
9/11 proved it because after 9/11 or 9/10, we had zero trauma specialists. 9/13, we had 2,000 in New York City.
Mm.
And after a year of going back and forth, when they hired a schizophrenic psychiatrist to oversee the portfolio, we were scratching our head like, huh? What from Washington University, then hired Barry Hong, a researcher from Washington University. It took us a year to say, but we don't practice this way in New York City. We're glad it worked in Oklahoma, but Oklahoma is not New York. It took us a whole year of going back and forth with that fight to finally say, okay, you're right. How do we do things differently in New York? And they said, so you bypass Columbia as though Columbia doesn't exist, and somebody from St. Louis knows how to do it better than Columbia folks, and we're supposed to all say, "Gee, hallelujah, we're glad that you're here." So that's kind of a little bit of the background.
Hmm.
Some of the other background was what the psychiatrist at Columbia discovered, and my great friend at the School of Public Health, who's ended up, he and I've had lots of battles, um, said, so we're ecstatic that the academic physicians are writing about this. We're ecstatic that the physicians have gotten on board. Lots of luck telling church folks
Hmm.
that this is going to work because you published in New England Journal of Medicine. See how that works out. See how that works out for you. And so this non-English speaking, you have all the degrees, they don't have the degrees, is going to see more people this weekend than you're going to see your entire month. And he or she's going to say, don't take the medicine. They're not going to take the medicine. He or she says that's that demonic, crazy white people stuff. And you may have all the documentation in the world. Then listen to that non ain't able to speak person that said, oh, pastor said, imam said, rabbi said, don't take it. I'm not touching it. So what we had to learn was that the MDs had to play nice in a sandbox with the clergy people because you may have degrees, but we have influence and we have trusted relationships because we've been there from the cradle to the grave. We've been there through the transitionary periods. And so it took a while to kind of put the egos at the door and say we all need to play nice in the sandbox. So that's part one or part two maybe. Part three is that again, as Emily was saying, we do this every day. This is not new for us. We may not have the language, but this is our everyday existence. I'm in the middle of a sermon and someone didn't take their meds and walks down the aisle. People go, well, we're glad Pastor knows to do because he's a psychoanalyst, so he'll handle it. And I did. I stopped the sermon, jumped in his world, walked him to the back till the EMT folks
Hmm.
came, took him away, finished the sermon, got in the car, went to the hospital, and said he just didn't take his meds. Don't do all this other kind of he didn't take his meds today. To give him his meds, he'll be fine. And he was, and he is. And the funny thing is, his mother is a psychiatric nurse supervisor. She wasn't there that day. She was out of town. Although she had, so he didn't take his meds. So mommy didn't say take the meds. So again, can't speak for Emily, but as a clergy person, that's kind of a starting point that we need to be honest about. As a clergy person who taught at New Haven, the psychiatry department, undoing racism workshop, and I asked a simple question. How many of you actually go into the field? And the response was, we pay people to do that. And I said, let me ask again. How many of you actually go out into the field? And the response was, we pay people to do that. So you pay people to go out into the field, then you write about it, get tenure and published. So yeah, we have some kind of feeling about that. So let's just
Okay.
start there. But we will play nice in the
We
sandbox.
see
So let's
that.
just start there.
I knew
Huh?
you were supposed to start. So I'm going to move to Emily and not necessarily comment on Dr. Ashley, but it's about let's just hear your thought if you read the article. And then we'll ask Rosemary if you got a chance to read the article, and then we'll have an open dialogue. Emily, I'm assuming you read the article.
I did. And
All right, talk to us.
Dr. Ashley, I think I've always said this though, that it frustrates the dickens out of me that perfect example, we have a case at Greystone right now. Man is clearly ill. He's been misdiagnosed apparently by the powers that be. They decided to diagnose him with religious scrupulosity and took away his schizophrenia title, and have been encouraging him. His psychiatrist has been encouraging him to be an aesthetic now. And when we went to talk to him, we were told that we weren't needed. And I said, well, I think you do need me because I think that your diagnosis is wrong. And I think that like we need to have a conversation about why I think it's wrong before we move ahead on exonerating this young man who burnt down his church in the midst of a spiritual emergency or a psychiatric breakdown. Like, so, but she's still fighting with me, the psychiatrist, and now the psychiatric director is also fighting with me because they don't want to hear from me, because they don't agree with, they're not quite ready to hear what I have to say, I guess. And so I think it's, we have to bridge the divide, but we also have to be, both sides of the project have to be open to it. And you can't discredit a person's knowledge based on a piece of paper that they hang on their wall, that they've, probably spent less money on than I did on mine. But, like that's really, I feel very strongly about that. I think it's wonderful that we are having this conversation. And since I've met you, Janet, I've had lots of these conversations, which is super exciting to me. But again, I am never, ever given the credit of my brain that I have. It is always, well, she is just the chaplain. In fact, we had a person die at the hospital this week, and I was working with a staff member who was losing her mind over this death. And the director of psychiatry walked in, pulled up his chair in the middle of us, took over, and when he left, the woman who was losing her mind looked at me straight in the eye and she goes, "What just happened?" And I said, "Well, I'll tell you, but I need to know that you're okay." So I think it's really great that we want to bridge the divide, but I also think that we need to bridge divides equally, like on all subjects of the world, right? And not just like, I'm still the PhD or whatever person. And so like, how do we help us come to a center bridging rather than like the walkway underneath the bridge type experience?
Beautiful. We're still taking input. Rosemary, whether you read the article or not, we always love your voice. Rosemary is a psychiatric nurse, and then we're going to come back to Dr. Chatlos, and then we'll open it. So, Rosemary, can you
not only read the
give
article,
your
I ordered her
thought?
book.
You what?
Yeah, and it only comes in either audio or ebook. So I did
Okay.
that because I was very interested in what she had to say. The other thing is, as a nurse, and I'm a psychiatric nurse practitioner, I do have a doctorate. Okay, so that doesn't make me better or worse because I was an LPN for a very long time, and that's where I got my foundation. That's who I am. So what do I think? I think nurses are never invited to the big games. We always have to, we show up. We show up whether we're invited or not. And so what happened with this was I happened to show up when I spoke to Janet and Dr. Chatlos, and now nursing is getting involved in this. I don't care how we're invited, just having a seat at the table is an honor. And I'm all about level playing field. I don't have any, hey, look, I'm in a position right now where Trenton, is looking at whether or not I have to have a collaborator that they pay money for every year who never even sees my patients. He's not psychiatry, and and he's internal medicine, but he's going to get money for being my collaborator if this bill doesn't go through. He's not even responsible for anything I do if I prescribe. If he's not on my insurance, I'm not on his, but he just collects money. Okay. And he actually lost 100 pounds. And I met him, like I didn't even recognize him because he lost 100 pounds the next time I saw him. Right. So I don't care. I'm happy that I became a nurse in 1973. And guess what? Nursing can do this now. So I think I have more grateful than resentment for anything that came before. However, even in articles on spiritual emergency and moral distress, it's actually documented that nurses were doing spiritual distress as a nursing diagnosis way before psychiatry. And we do treat patients holistically, mind, biopsychosocial and spiritual. So I'm all about holistic. I don't treat disease as a psychiatric nurse, I do, but nursing we don't treat diagnoses, we treat the human response to the disease or disorder. And that's where spirituality comes in. But
Beautiful.
I did read the article. I thought it was interesting. I don't get offended. I'm just grateful anymore. I don't get offended by anything. Poor Dr. Chatlos, you're the MD at the table here. You got
All right, so
I don't
I'm gonna
know. But I think that anybody can bring attention to something that needs to have attention. I don't care how they do it, as long as it's
Yeah.
just, like it's I think that's great, because they're getting published makes it easier for me to tell nursing and our boards that we need to have them.
Yes, beautiful. And Dr. Chatlos, you can comment if at some point you want to bring Anna Newsom in. But why don't you comment on what you heard, and then we'll just have an open dialogue for a little bit.
Yeah, let me say a few things. First of all, I think we're all in agreement that whatever is present isn't working very well. Okay? So that's one. I also want to start with my life. I grew up, my father not only was a clergy, he was a chaplain. So I saw what he did. I went places he went. I went to the hospital, the nursing homes. So I had great respect for chaplains, and that was before they were even clinically trained. So that's a background. The other thing is, I will not speak for the Psychiatric Association and the psychiatric profession, because they are doing a lot of things that are exactly, Willard, as you said, and Emily, as you said. And I see it and I dislike it as much as you do, because it's wrong. It's just bad care. But when it comes to mental health and the mental health with religion and spirituality, unfortunately, they're still calling the shots. And I'll say their new plans for the DSM-6 manual, in all of their writings, they've written 5 major papers. In what they're preparing, the word spirituality came up no more than twice. So that's a problem. Okay. I want to say something, Willard, to you in terms of chaplains have been doing this, but let me tell you the perspective of psychiatry and the science world is that we're in the Western world. Until some of this experience gets scientifically grounded, it's not going to be listened to. We've been doing it without the science backing for 5,000 years. And here's where we are. So that's my position, that until there's some grounding that doesn't exclude religion, doesn't dismiss it, doesn't belittle it, accepts it as a full partner, we're not going to get 100% of the people on board to recognize that spiritual experience is universal, not related to religion, race, creed, nationality, you name it. Unfortunately, I'm of the opinion that I do not think the world's going to accept it unless there's at least some science grounding that spiritual experience is real. So that's sort of, we are probably actually.
Are you tossing this to Dr. Ashley, or are you going to continue? Yeah.
No.
You want to toss your question to Dr.
No,
Ashley?
I don't think so. I mean, I think I heard,
Yeah.
Willard, what you
So
said.
I'd like to.
Yeah. And we are
Well, let me
probably,
say it
So
differently.
I'm going to
wait,
now.
I
we
wrote
are
about this in
probably, Janet, we are probably sort of where the Yale group was 2 years ago.
Okay.
Can I just
So now it's
can I
open
just say an
dialogue. It's
observation?
open dialogue.
Can I say an observation?
Yeah.
I think it's almost like the disease of addiction. Like at the 39th annual convention for addiction, we had the largest group of people that ever attended. And the keynote speaker said, we're like an overnight success, but it's been around forever. You have to have the right people get affected by it. You have some Hollywood somebody that gets affected. You can make somebody who's the person that they will listen to, and then you will see more people come out from behind whatever they're hiding from to say that they've experienced this. You have to have the right people affected. When you have somebody with schizophrenia say this, they already have a discredit, which they shouldn't, but they do. When you have people misdiagnosed with schizophrenia or bipolar because this happened, that's an atrocity. But if you can get people who are well, like so many of you have speakers who share, I've had this happen to me, but it has to be the right people that have the diagnosis, or the experience to come forward. Now, you are the ones who know more of people that are more, I guess, public than I would, because my patients are all in like I'm sure I know Emily. Like my patients are mostly, they're not affluent at all. They're people that are struggling
we have
left, right.
public
They're
people.
homeless. Yeah. So public people are the ones that are going to make a difference, that come forward, that I think, to get somebody's attention.
So
We're gonna get into that at the end. And so, Dr. Ashley, why
I
don't
don't
you go
disagree with
next?
anything that you said. Again, I was trained by the mother of Black psychiatry, so I'm very well aware of that part of life. I did her eulogy by her request, so we became very close. So I'm going to be very clear. Emily and I were theologically trained. We understand our boundaries. We're not going to try to do medicine. Medicine wants to do spirituality. And you want to tell us you're better at it than we are. And we are primary research. So at some point, we stop being academic. And this is not to promote me. My plate is very full. But why not have someone like Emily as the co-presenter?
Look,
Or.
I don't pretend to be an expert in spirituality. My whole role is being able to assess patients to make sure that they get the right care
Right.
with the person who's the expert.
But my point being that Emily, I'm not promoting me, could be a co-presenter versus, this is the great Dr. So-and-so who's come to talk about spirituality, doesn't have any training in it.
Yeah. And me, I'm not pretending to be a guru on spirituality, although I know myself and I respect it, but I'm the one that feels like I have to get the right person to my patient that needs it. Because I mean, spiritual, that's great, but we also have like different that's like a diamond. That's how many facets are in that spirituality word. And for each person you meet, a different need, a different view, a different, feeling. So like,
and can I finish,
yeah,
Rosemary?
sure.
And to your
But
point,
I would never say that I was the expert.
Okay, but I'm not barking at you. This is a universal conversation, so I'm not quite sure why you jumped in on that. The research, let's be academics. After 2001, 9/11, the insurance companies said, you know what? They found that when people want spiritual direction, they want a clergy person, not a social. We're going to just read a few books. Now the psychiatrist just read a few books yesterday. That when they have those kind of experiences, they want a clergy person. There's research on that already. That's not me making it up. That's not my sour grapes. It came out after 9/11. That was what was out. That's what was out there after 9/11. So I get it. If Patty LaBelle says diabetics need to go get medicine, people go get medicine. I understand that, and I've used that model. But I'm also you asked me to be transparent. I can go back. I can do my shell. I can do everything's okay. I'm so glad to be on this panel, and thank God for the opportunity. I'm 72 years old. I don't give a shit. All right. I don't need to pad my resume. I was the dean of the seminary. I was tenured. I did all of that crap. Okay. So I have nothing to prove. If I never talk to you again in life, my CV is wonderful. I'm on my sixth book now. Okay. So I have jack shit to prove.
Yeah.
All right. I'm trying to be helpful. You asked me to be transparent and tell you what I think. So I'm telling you what I think. If that's not what you want to do, I'll go back to being, play nice in the sandbox. I'm glad
Thank
to be
you.
here. Thank you so much.
Be you. I'm 72 too, so be you. I'm not looking for anything for my resume. They know. Right. I mean, how much? I'm not. Anything I do is gratis. I'm not looking for any accolades here.
We're good.
Not at all.
We're good. I'm going to ask Emily to chime in because this is the open dialogue, and as we get closer to 4, we're going to go into action steps. So Emily, you are right at the cusp of facilitating between chaplains and medical staff. You are in it. You are there. You are on the treatment team. You are in the meetings. You are advocating, or at least part of the patient
Yeah.
care. Like you can't get closer. So talk to us. Talk to us about this article, where we are, where we want to go, because we're going to end with action steps.
So
We
I like
will.
what am I supposed to call you, Dr. Ashley, Willard?
Will's fine,
Will?
Emily.
All
I'll
right.
call you Emily. You call me Will.
So when I first got the article, I looked at it and I was mad.
Mm,
Like I was genuinely mad.
Mm.
And then I went and I looked at the conference and was like, I'll just go to the conference. Right? Like I'll just go attend the conference because somebody's got to be there. And I may just do that. But I think that like in order for the topic to become real and equally bounded, although we live in the Western culture, spirituality is becoming very, very, very big part of every session I do, whether I do it in-house or in my private practice. Even people who are like, I'm not religious at all and don't bring up your faith. And I'm like, don't worry, I won't. But bring it up anyway.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how like it's becoming bigger and bigger, and people are really looking at existential issues right now, and because all of our morals and values are being challenged by what's happening in the world. So all of a sudden we have to think about those things and talk about them. That being said, I think that unless we find a psychiatrist or an MD or a PhD who can and does understand and see the religious professional as an equal and like be able to present on an equal level, it's going to be where like we succeed really well. Because if we need scientific proof behind something that is of the heart, you're never going to find it. Most of the clients that I get on the outside who are sent over by colleagues are sent to me because I'm that religious person who has the clinical and the religious together, and the spiritual and all that good fun stuff. But until she, like people with a degree who have a higher educational degree in religion are not seen as the same as somebody who is a psychologist and has a PhD in psychology. I have a doctor of ministry and pastoral care and counseling. Whoop-de-doo.
Right.
That's here at Greystone, that's really how it's treated, is whoop-de-doo. Whereas like when I sit down with people who will actually listen to the amount of education that I have, then they're like, you spent 4,000 hours training in a hospital? Yeah. And then I did a mental health, for my clinical mental health counseling degree, I did another 4,000 hours, 4,500 hours actually right now, to train to become a therapist. And only because I'm a licensed therapist now do I have any sort of qualifications to do counseling, even though half of my colleagues out in the real world are doing counseling left and right as pastors, and they're not trained clinically to do that. They shouldn't be doing that because they're actually causing some harm.
And they're not good at it.
And they're not good at it.
Emily, can you like just give a tactical example of you were on the care team, you were in the same room with medical doctors, maybe psychiatric nurses. Tell us, like, this is what Calvin and I were so astonished by. One, you were in the room, and how does that work? And two, it's just great that you care for all religions. So I don't know, at least start with that one. What is that like? Because this article is about bridging
Well, it's taken a very long time for us to get to this place at Greystone. And recently I've been working with a hospital in San Diego, one in Michigan, and another one in some other state about their programs. And they are astonished when I say, well, we're part of the treatment team and we are part of the, engagement of the treatment of the patient. And we're not just somebody who comes in and prays for them and then walks away. We're actually people that, take their psychiatric diagnosis and their religious needs or spiritual needs, whatever they might have, and we toss them together and we come up with a plan of action to treat that person in line with the treatment plan. So, if we need to do grief work, identity work, all the same keywords that a psychologist uses as far as what we're going to treat in a person, we take all those things still, but we actually do work with them. And we actually find coping skills that help them live in the world today. And we utilize their faith or their religion or their lack of religion to create ritualistic experiences where they can utilize that in the real world. And so, but it's taken, almost 20 years to get there, because when I first got here, they were very happy that I wasn't my predecessor. But they were also very skeptical of this young Methodist gay clergy woman who was trying to shake up the world of the hospital, because I didn't think that religion should be in a psychiatric hospital. And I thought spirituality should be, but yet I really didn't understand, because of who I was, where I came from, and my whole journey at that point, anything about what was happening. And so I had to win people over left and right by basically, hearing their story and then loving them into accepting me. Because, it's not easy to accept religion when they think that you're just coming in to convert everybody.
And I was part of the group, Emily, back in the early 80s, early 90s, that fought to get chaplains to be able to write in the charts.
Yeah.
Because when I first came on board, and like you, I have 4,400 hours of CPE, so we're both crazy. So
yeah,
we couldn't write in the charts when I first started.
Right.
And so the group of us fought really hard to be able to write in charts, and we won that battle. But to your point, Emily, it was a battle.
Right. Emily, could you speak to right now, short, where are you now? Because Dr. Chatlos and I were astonished when we found out you were on the care team. You were in the meeting with the medical directors. So where are you now? And then we'll just keep going. Where are you now? You were on the treatment team. Oh, and then you also do discharge. So could you just comment?
Well, I mean, we're on the treatment team. We do treatment, we do individuals, we do groups, and then we work with the patients for discharge purposes. So if they're going to Hackettstown and they're Muslim, then we try to set them up so that they have a connection with the imam in the community and a mosque in the community. But we also make sure that they're healthy. Like if I can't get a word in edgewise with the Hasidic rabbi that I was recently trying to work with to get a patient discharged into their community, but because I'm a nice little me, it wasn't working real well. And so we had to go find a man. It wasn't even a rabbi or a clergy person to talk to them. But we finally found somebody that could get him to understand that we just want to make sure that this young man, gets discharged into his community, back into his faith community. And although I was not happy with the way that went because I couldn't do it myself, I recognize that there are rituals and other things that we have to play by sometimes because of the religious needs of the individual. So we've been able to do a lot of that. We work with, churches and, communities that are healthy. And I say that they're healthy because if they say, well, what am I supposed to do with a mentally ill person? I'm like, yeah, you're not healthy. That's not going to work for us. I try to get the understanding that we're going to discharge this person We have a Jehovah Witness right now who is extremely Jehovah Witness, and we are discharging them to that community. And they are actually going to make sure that she has transportation. She has ways to get her to our doctor's appointment, to the Kingdom Hall for worship twice a week. That is a healthy religious experience for that young lady who's going to go back out into community and be able to connect with that. So we do all of that. But
So
I think that
love,
should be normal, by the way, but I know it's not, because I know that like half the hospital chaplain that people that I'm interviewing to come to Greystone, they're still not allowed to chart in charts at some of the hospitals that they are at. They literally are there as like prayer warriors. And I'm like, we don't do that here. Like we pray, but that's not our primary
job. Universal. You're right.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I just wanted to absolutely make sure we talked about your discharge system because that's astonishing. Could you just make any final comment? You are on the care team with physicians, and that's part of the article. Like, what is that like to be in the room with physicians? Because that doesn't always happen in most hospitals.
So I know it doesn't happen. And I know that we are still not seen as equal care providers. I know that like the PhD and the MD in the room are the leaders of the pack, and we are just like rehab or co-occurring or the social work or so it's probably better that I personally am not on a treatment team every day, because I get very agitated by the fact that my staff are often discounted for what they have to say, because there's still that understanding of hierarchical leadership that a PhD and an MD are more trained, more knowledgeable than we are. And that is true in the fact that, if you're a trained a psychiatrist or a trained nephrologist, you probably know more, and my old boss and I used to joke about that, because he would say things to me like, Emily, I know religion really well, and I can blah, 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 blah. One day I said to him, Doctor, you may know a lot about religion, and I certainly know a lot about psychiatry, but I'm not going to go and prescribe for people. And I would really appreciate it if you wouldn't do religion with my people. So I think that we all have our roles, but I wish that we could be seen as equal collaborators and not as, the chaplain's here. Because on Tuesday this week, we had a patient die at the hospital. When we showed up, guess what? Everything calmed down, and we were able to do our jobs, and we were able to be seen and heard and appreciated in a way that we're not when we're doing the other work. But we take our love where we can, so to speak. But that's really what I think. I think that like we really need the medical people to see the equality and the importance of the wellness wheel, so to speak, of how all those pieces are equal. They're not, the other thing is that, and I could talk all day, is that like spirituality runs through everybody's like gamut of issues. So like, and people need to learn that. And I mean, part of what we do at Greystone is to teach our staff that, so that when they see us doing something that they think is out of line with what a chaplain should be doing, we're able to say, well, no, because this is what we're doing and this is why. And then they're like, oh, okay.
So
I'm going to bridge, if I just hold for a second, Dr. Ashley. We have 15 minutes. I'm going to bridge to next steps, which could include, let's keep talking, because this has opened up a lot. In the next 15 minutes, unless people want to stay later, I'd like to take this and say, what could be next steps? Anybody that wants to stay after 4, Dr. Chatlos and I will stay. Is that okay? And Dr. Ashley, if you wanted to do a quick comment, and then we'll go into next steps.
Well, I was going to say
Did you want to say something?
So here's the hope. where I saw it work is in three places.
All right.
It worked at Barnett Hospital in Patterson before they closed. I was the director of pastoral care there, and I worked with the chief medical officer who happened to be a psychiatrist. And I don't know if he's still living, but he was Islamic. And the temple was walking distance from the hospital. And he saw us as equals.
Mm.
And I was on a zillion committees, et cetera, et cetera. But he made it very clear to all the physicians that we were equals. And he said they better write in the charts because we want to know what's going on with people spiritually because we're concerned about whole people, not component parts. It
Mm.
worked well there. For a moment, it worked well at you ever at Hackensack Hospital in Hackensack?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know why they have a clinical program? They used my license for 2 years and started their CPE program there. And during that time frame, it worked well because again, for that slice of time, they saw the chaplains in the spiritual care department or pastoral care department as equals in total healing.
What time
They
period
had to
was
be
that?
probably the 90s, I'm assuming. And just
All right. We'll
yeah,
talk
and just for the
offline. Yeah.
record, Emily did 4,000 hours. I did 4,400 hours. Half of those were at Robert Wood Johnson Hospital in
Mm.
New Brunswick, by the way, just FYI. And
Mm.
so I saw it work there, where again, John DeVelder, who's now passed away, made it clear that we're equals in this healing process. And he sat at the table with others. So I've seen it happen. It's not something, not a dream. I've seen it happen. It was part of it taking place. So I'll just leave it at that. Oh, and you do realize I have 3 books that are interfaith to talk about this kind of stuff, right?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm going to start, and Calvin, if you want to chime in a moment, I'm going to start with next steps, and close at 4 to be, due diligent on meeting, and then Dr. Chatlos and I will stay later if you want. But I want to go to next steps, and we do have some next steps happening, but what would be a first next step, Dr. Chatlos, to say, how do we take this? And I'm going to say we can have another meeting and talk. That's easy. But what would be a specific next step, either with Anna Newsom, aware, training? What's going on in your mind as an example of a step?
I don't think I should be the one to start with what are the next steps because um, I don't.
I'm going to lead it because you and I have been working on, we want to have medical training. Rosemary's involved in that. I always think chaplains should be involved in it. So could you speak about, we want to train medical,
I,
nurse practitioners and chaplains in
we do,
hospitals.
Janet, but we're going to do that independent of
Yeah.
this group. This is a special group. And I think the question is, what can this group offer independent of other things that we're doing?
I still see it as a next step, like as an information. We're doing that, Emily, so I would like to just
I
hear
wouldn't, I
thought,
wouldn't,
like
I
that's a
wouldn't
step.
expect, I wouldn't necessarily expect that, Janet, to be done under the monitoring of this group or under the direction or under the pushing of this group. We'll do it and we'll get
No,
input, but
nope,
that's
just
that's
information.
right. That's an independent effort.
Just FYI.
Yeah. What would this group see if people see an advantage in having this type of discussion and upfront, authentic conversation? Where would people want to take it?
I'm 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 disappointed in knowing that, the blind men and the elephant, there were how many, 6 of them? There's really like hundreds of thousands of blind men going to the elephant around here, right? And I've never had a conversation like this because I'm the girl that my brother's a deacon. He was in the seminary when I was a kid. When a priest came to our house, that was it, man. boss, whatever they said. Didn't even matter if they were right or wrong. We just did it. So I am totally amazed that you guys experienced this seriously, unbeknownst to me, because in my upbringing, like, and I know I have patients that, like my father said, World War II, when he hit the beach at Normandy, everybody that was an atheist hit their knees, right? I mean, so everybody needs something. So I am absolutely amazed at this conversation. I think that actually, Miss Emily, you need to submit an abstract to a national conference. I think you need to have the microphone, because when I met these two, I submitted an abstract to a national conference that got accepted. And that's why I feel comfortable about saying this. 2,400 nurses were there, okay? Psychiatric nurses. And it was the first time they ever heard about spirituality or spiritual emergencies or spiritual bypass or anything else that they might be missing out of. Developed an abstract. You have an excellent person right next to you that wrote, but that you can cite him left, right, and center. He could be there with you. Submit an abstract to a national conference.
I would say,
Emily, you want to comment on that?
well, Janet, let me say something that people need to know. When I went to Greystone and met Emily and saw her program, Janet, remember the first thing I said? I said, this is a model program.
I do remember
that is
saying it.
nowhere in New
Yes.
Jersey. And this is how it should
Yes.
be done. So I'm well aware of it not getting done. And yeah, any way we could support Emily doing something about expanding it beyond the state hospital, okay, if we want to take something like that on. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would also say in terms of
So Emily,
equality,
comment,
Emily,
because I'm going to still want to.
hold on. In terms of equality, Emily, my first job was to set up a substance abuse unit for teenagers, and the chaplain was a major part of having it work because it was based on a spiritual model, and he trained our staff. So I have great respect for it.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So Emily, you don't have to commit, but do you want to comment on Rosemary's encouragement?
I'm going to call Rosemary. We're going to have a conversation.
Yes.
And then I'm going to comment on it that way.
Oh, okay. I'm telling you, and the Janet and Dr. Chat. In fact, I said to Dr. because I can't tell you how many volumes I had, because my role was to bring this to the attention to nurses so that they don't misdiagnose, and how to assess, how to tell the difference between psychosis and a spiritual emergency or spiritual bypass. And we did it because I'm board certified in addiction and psychiatry. It was so that we can actually not have our patients slammed with antipsychotics that don't need it or being labeled something that they're not. Okay.
Yeah.
And that was my goal. And thanks to these two people who kind of guided me, I went to their meetings. I read whatever they gave me to read. I used Aware when I did the end of my, contact these people, this is great. We did the mini training, and this was with a colleague who actually, she's at the University of Vanderbilt. So she's a DMP, I'm a PhD. It didn't matter. We could have been bachelor's degrees. It was the information was new to nurses.
Excellent.
We didn't even know how they were going to accept it, and they loved it. Okay.
Yeah.
So I say do an abstract.
I'll send a phone connection. I'm going to then keep going with actions. So here's a question, maybe to Dr. Ashley and anybody. How can we get into a theological school? How can we do an orientation? That's actually been said over 2 years ago, to just orient in a theology school that this thing is this DSM-V code is bridging between psychiatry and
that you need to work with anymore, Janet.
Well,
I think you need to work with the psychiatry and the medical doctors, because the clergy already want to do this. They're not educated to do it, but they will be, because they have most legitimate clergy have to go through a process to get ordained, and then most legitimate chaplains also have another process that they have to go through. So it's the medical side of this that needs to be introduced to well-educated clergy, and well-educated, well-written, well-published, whatever.
Yes.
So
Hold on for a second. I just want to confirm why I asked that. I started with, we want to do medical training, so that's on the list. But Calvin and I have been introduced to chaplains, at least in Jersey Shore, and then other clergy that says, we don't know anything about this. They said we need to get it into theology school. So I'm just putting it out as a possibility that the whole crew needs to be oriented. Dr. Ashley, comment.
Again, it's not universal, it's not consistent across seminaries.
Right.
However, to become a board certified chaplain, you are interfaith. You don't focus on one particular religion. And we do deal with quote unquote atheists who say, well, pray for me just in case you're right.
Yes.
And so I think that probably might be helpful to have Emily do a little larger education so you appreciate our training.
Mm. Yeah.
Because like Emily, I have more graduate school than I do undergrad.
Right.
Mm.
And and so I look back, so I have 16 years of graduate school between all the different certifications, etc. And so most of the time, I'm more educated than a physician. I may not know this medicine and this pharmacology, but most have not spent 16 years in grad school.
Beautiful.
But our voices are muted. That's the point. That's the point, though. We're not respected. So again, not to promote me, but what would happen if you ride side by side, physician and someone like Emily? Because the newer model is, I don't need you to mentor me. I need you to sponsor me.
Yes.
I need you to open doors that I cannot open, that you can, and we do this together.
That's exactly the problem. Is we doors that are willing to hear what we have to say.
So I want to go to the last topic on that. Some of you may or may not be familiar, or we'll send it after. Dr. Chatlos and I have initiated a little card for first responders that says, do you want a clergy? So we're trying to put this into the system in New Jersey and across the nation that says a person getting called on a mental health call, do you want a clergy? So just note that's what we're doing, and we can make that going much further. Number two, we're doing.
I have one question. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Dr. Chatlos, on the psychiatric advanced directive, is that on there? Patients that you have advanced directive.
It's not on there.
See, maybe that should be on the psychiatric advanced directive.
Yes.
I agree.
Okay.
That's a topic. Thank you. I'm noting it because I want to do an advanced directive. I agree. So we've gotten as far as saying, do you want a clergy on our little card? All right. Number two, we have multiple films, but the current one, and I'll have Dr. Chatlos comment briefly, but our current film is partially about my story, partially about thousands around the world, but now it's a court case with a woman in Alaska who had a Christian Holy Spirit experience. She's going to court. And we would like to hear, and maybe it's privately one-on-one, if you will speak into this film. So that's how I'm going to close. Calvin, do you want to give your plug? And then I will talk to people after, because this is how we're also going to take action. We want to get this out in the public and the news. So, Dr. Chatlos, do you want to comment?
Well, two things. One, our reason to jump on this case is this is a real case. She's a great woman. She's solid in her beliefs, and she was Alaska Principal of the Year before this happened. So it not only is likely to be a successful court case, but we also believe that the powers that be will try to squash it, and it won't make any more than 24 hours in the news. So we want to make it big enough and visible enough to make a difference. The other thing, Janet, I think that we've sort of identified this panel's opinions that lots of pieces in this system aren't working and aren't listening and may not even be very open. I would throw out to this group, is there something that we as a united group can do to change the awareness? I cannot get into the doctors. I left Rutgers because the more I talked spiritual, the more I got pushed aside. So it's going to take more than me going to doctors and developing awareness. I think our value as this group is we can have this kind of discussion, and how can we what can we do to bring up the awareness and make it more valuable and important? And I don't have an answer.
Yeah, outside conferences, because conferences are saying it to each other. Dr. Ashley, I'm going to talk to you later. We want to get in the news. We need to get into the news because news and film to me is a way. Who wants to comment? We have a few more minutes to close that appropriate, and then we'll keep talking if you want. But I love it. Let me start first with, does this group want to meet again in a few weeks? Like, why don't you tell me and I'll schedule it on Friday. It kind of works. Anybody want to keep meeting? Even if it's
I would.
two of us, three of
I
us?
think that it would be helpful if you really want me to do something. I'm scared to death of writing and getting published and that whole thing. It's just not in my wheelhouse to sit down and do that unless I have deadlines and people telling me that I have to do something. And you can tell that I just got super nervous and super quiet when you guys started talking about it. So like I have no idea. I can send you stuff and you can figure out how to make it all show up as abstracts and articles, but I don't know how to do it.
Emily, I'll
I
help
don't
you.
know how
Emily,
to.
I'll help you.
Okay.
I'll help
Emily,
Yeah.
I can't
And
either.
Emily,
I can't either. I work
oh.
with I'm a DNP. She's a PhD. It just works. I do the hands-on. She's the brains behind the operation. I'm the crazy lady that brings her ideas. That's it.
So Emily, it's always been on my mind. Let's talk offline, but if you will speak, your voice is important. You could be anonymous. We can't even tell you who you are because I know you're in a state hospital. So I still want your voice, and let's talk offline because I do know at this point you need to be anonymous. All right. Does this group want to meet in another 2 weeks, 3 weeks on a Friday? Are we interested to do that? Because I'll schedule it.
I want to, Willard, you're an important part of this.
Doesn't feel like it, but okay, let me get back to you on that. I'm not sure. My energy may not be where it needs to be. Rosemary, my wife had stage 3 ovarian
Oh,
cancer.
so sorry.
So that's why. So this, I sort of laugh, but no, that's why my head might be someplace else.
You and I are at an age where, like, I lost a friend yesterday, and it's just like, it seems like, I know you hit 70, and then when you meet your friends, you hear their illnesses, it's
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, and you say more goodbyes than hellos.
Yeah. Or live your life with no regrets, right?
Right. So that's why I can't. It's hard to say because she's scheduled for surgery on the 23rd, but a lot of things have to happen before
I
that
hear you.
takes
No,
place.
yeah. Family first, always.
We'll take it
Family first.
offline. That's okay, sweetie.
Let me
Thank
end
you.
with something, Janet.
How about I get,
Hold on.
yeah.
Janet and I and the people we come across really believe in providence. This is a special group. I think all of us realize that something can be changed and needs to be changed. And I'm not hearing anybody else in the state be able to do and talk like what we're talking about. So that's my plug, that I think we as a group would have a valuable gift to give.
So why don't I just, I'll talk to you personally. I'll just put something maybe monthly or whatever next. And if you show up, great. If not, that's okay. And Dr. Ashley, thank you for talking to me behind the scenes. We will talk when it's appropriate and our heart goes out to supporting you and your wife. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
And now I have to look for your
Yeah.
books.
Ah, oh my God. He has massive books. Oh my God. We met Dr. Ashley in 2023 at a conference, and I was overwhelmed and astonished. So, so much, so much. This is a beautiful select group, and Reverend Sparks will connect in with us. He's also an amazing pastor and caring about all this. So, I'm going to say thank you. Anybody can call me after, but Rosemary and Emily, I will connect you to. And Dr. Ashley, when it's convenient. I know you've been trying to talk, but it's okay when we can talk, all right? Yes. All right. Thank you
Good to
so
see you
much,
again, Emily.
everybody.
You too. Well.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye all. Be well.